Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the twists and turns in Boris Johnson's attempts to have the UK signed up to the Lugano Convention and important European agreement that would allow for judgments in British courts to have some meaning internationally. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So I've approached this subject before. Taken a bit of a turn since then, not too long ago actually, and noted that despite Boris Johnson wanting to rip the UK out of a lot of European schemes of mutual interest, he absolutely wanted us to remain in the Lugano Convention. It's that important that even he doesn't want to play Brexit politics with it. Or perhaps he just doesn't think he needs to. Now, what it is, in a nutshell, it's a system for having judgments in the courts of one country recognised in another. It would cover commercial disputes, for example. Absolutely essential for cross-border trade in services and goods that British businesses or customers have some legal representation should it be needed. It means that if you have a dispute with either a customer or supplier from one country, you can take them to court in your own country rather than trying to raise a legal case internationally. How many people could afford to do that? And I know that it might sound a bit rich when Boris Johnson insisted on a Brexit that actively made a virtue of cutting out European courts from British affairs, but he wants British courts to have jurisdiction over some matters in Europe. But the reality is that this is absolutely vital for us. Pulling away from any form of international cooperation is damaging, especially with our most immediate neighbours. But this is so serious that the Brexit nutters in charge of the country aren't even messing about here. They want in. However, membership requires unanimous agreement amongst all members. Last time I talked about it, the EU were actually in favour. It was other states that were not so sure, although I now note that Switzerland has said that they want the UK to join. But in a both surprising and unsurprising move, I suppose, the EU have this week announced that it is arguing against the UK joining. Now, the Daily Express, everyone's favourite hate-filled pro-Brexit comic, described it as bitter bloc takes latest swipe at UK. Of course, they say that about everything. Every move by the EU to work in its members' interest is bitter. Every time they call for the UK government to stick by its promises, that's just been bitter. But on this occasion, they may actually be right. After all, the Lugano Convention, you would have thought, is in everyone's interest. It should be. But the fact that the EU are now arguing against the UK joining suggests that it must not necessarily be in the EU's interest. Now, this could be political. After all, they were all set to approve our application. It has also been said that there seem to be a number of EU member states that do not agree with the EU Commission's position here. The EU Commission are arguing that the UK is not a member of the EEA or EFTA, and all members of the Lugano Convention are. It was set up for such countries exclusively. We'd be the only member that is a third country with respect to their markets. So absolutely there is an argument there. Absolutely. But it might well just be a bit of needle to prompt Boris Johnson to get back on the Northern Ireland Protocol wagon. It'll be interesting to see what happens if Johnson agrees practical measures for implementing the protocol with the Commission and publicly reaffirms his commitment. Because if he does that, and within the week, the EU are all of a sudden agreeing that, oh yes, of course, the UK should be allowed to join Lugano, then we may have our answer. Of course, it may well be that EU member states argue against this move by Brussels and just overrule them. They can do that. You can imagine how that would play out in the Express and the Daily Mail should it occur. They'd love it. Mind you, France are supposedly arguing against UK membership, so it's probably unlikely that the Commission's position would be undermined by members if such a powerful one was of the same mind. But that's just one possibility. Another thought occurs. Obviously, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, which is scheduled again for a vote at the end of this month, doesn't really cover services, does it? Which is the bulk of our trade, and for which the UK had a positive balance of trade with the EU. It was a stunningly stupid, self-defeating move for the UK to agree a deal that only covered the barest framework for the relatively less important goods only. This lack of agreement on services has already allowed the EU to muscle in on what has been the UK's strength, financial services. A quite epic amount of business has already left London for centres around the EU. If the EU are looking at a future where they are abandoning medium-term hopes for closer trading relationships with the UK, then they may well look at every avenue for freezing Britain out of its trading services. Refusing to grant equivalence could just be the start. Denying their courts any role in European disputes might well be a useful tool as well. Perhaps this is the explanation. Or maybe the Express is right. I know, but even a broken clock is right twice a day. Perhaps it is just bitterness at the continued hassle that Brexit is causing them when they have more important matters to deal with. I doubt it, however. Yes, EU commissioners are human too. They showed that human fallibility earlier this year, but they traditionally act along pragmatic lines. For example, going back to the Northern Ireland Protocol, they didn't have to agree to that. They knew that Westminster would never agree to leave the EU without a withdrawal agreement. They knew that Boris Johnson's political career depended upon one. They could have simply faced him down and said the backstop or no agreement. Boris Johnson would then have been sunk, completely and utterly left alone. And we would have never left the EU because Parliament would never have agreed to leave without a deal. And although we might still have a crap government now, it wouldn't have been Boris Johnson's at least. But no, they were pragmatic and agreed to the protocol, even though it meant trusting the UK government to manage their half of the customs border. There may well be some in the EU who are regretting that show of good faith. So I suspect that there will be strategy behind this decision. So I think it will either be related to putting the squeeze on our ability to compete with services or a bargaining chip over the Northern Ireland Protocol. I'm tending towards the latter because reports suggest that this change from the EU Commission was very sudden and caught out people in the EU by surprise. In other words, it doesn't seem to have been an argument that's been had and they've now adopted that position. So that would suggest it was a knee-jerk response to a fast-moving situation. Now, just like their earlier threat to spuriously trigger Article 16 over the vaccine mess in January, but it could be that there have been arguments about UK market access for services. That's possible. I gather that London isn't just the giant in European financial services, but also legal. Courts in London are the go-to place, apparently, for European disputes to be settled. That wouldn't be possible if we're not part of Lugano, which would represent a blow to the legal services in the UK as well as financial services. So, although this will be an issue that could twist and turn again in the next few weeks and maybe months, as things currently stand, even the pro-Brexit media can do nothing but label this as a blow to Boris Johnson right now, regardless of what they do to blame the EU. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.